What is up, you guys? So in today's video we're going to just do a quick massive video. It's kind of a percussive sound, just something I did a long time ago that I think is kind of cool, so let's just listen to it. So that's the sound we'll be making, but if you want to make it even cooler than that and make it sound a little bit more like what I intended, you might want to add a wow filter with a bandpass and crazy high resonance, because that resonance will kind of make it sound a little bit more like it's like a real life sample. So anyways, we can also do this inside of Massive, but I think the wow filter just sounds better. So now we'll listen to it with the wow filter. So I think it sounds cooler with the wow filter. Of course, we can also use a filter inside of Massive to get the same sort of thing, but I think the wow filter is just better suited for this kind of thing. So if you're curious, this is the classic Val preset inside of the wow filter, and the only thing I did was just take off the LFO off the main cutoff, so that way it's not moving around and it's mostly just there. Alright, so now we're in Massive. So go File, New Sound, and just follow along as I take you through what I did with this preset. So let's just start off with Oscillator 1. So let's start off with the square saw 1. We're going to leave the wavetable intensity and amp all the way up and route this all the way filter 1. And then we're going to use the Alt key to bring this up 1 octave. So inside of Massive, you can use shortcuts like Alt to go up and down octaves really fast. I think on Mac, it's Option. I seriously don't remember. When I used to do my videos from Mac, I would tell you guys, but you know, it's just one of those keys. So we're going to bring this up an octave, and then we're going to drag in a envelope 2 and a performer 8 into the pitch box right here. So we're going to bring this up all the way up. So using that quick key command, you can do that really quickly, you know, not having to go up and down 64 notes one by one like that. And so then we're going to also bring the performer 8 up an octave, and we're going to do those to all the oscillators, because I find that when you do kind of pitch modulation on one oscillator and don't do it to the other ones, then things start to sound really kind of detuned in that bad way. So if I do any kind of pitch modulation, I apply it to all my other oscillators. So we'll be doing that on oscillator 2 and 3 as well. So now let's go to oscillator 2. So we're going to set this to a square saw 2. We're going to leave everything all the way up. We're going to drag the amp down a little bit, and so we're going to leave the pitch down at 0. And then oscillator 3, we're going to select a Digi Cook 2, and we're going to leave the wavetable position kind of pointing at the end, and we're going to set the intensity kind of around 9 o'clock, and then we're going to drag a performer 7 on there as well. And then we're going to pull this amp down a little bit. So this is kind of giving us the clicky part of the sound. And we're going to bring this down an octave, and then we're going to put that envelope 2 and 8 there as well. So the reason why we're using this envelope 2 to go all the way up is because basically this is like an old trick that everyone always does in all types of synths and synthesis, where you just modulate your pitch really fast, and it just makes your attack a lot clickier. So you notice that we have very little attack, no level, no release here, and decay is up slightly. So I do have a actually it's all the way down, but I did add a macro there, so if I wanted to make it longer, I could do that. So let's go with envelope 4 now, because it's our main envelope. So everything here is basically kind of where it's at by default. So you can see where the attack is, the decay is, the level is, and the release. So those are really the only parameters that you need to look at, unless I'm using the loop thing right here, which I'm not. And let's go to now our performer 7. So we're using this right here. So we're going to set this to 1/16, put all these on, and we're going to just select this curve right here. So it's the one in the bottom left. Really nice, quick curve. And I'm just going to loop this to 3 boxes, or keep the performer just in 3 boxes, so that way I'm only getting this. And I'm going to drag the amp slightly down and then throw a macro there, so that way I can control the filter through the performer, because if we look at the cutoff here, my performer is basically controlling my cutoff. So that's what's making this sound so quick. Now if we go to performer 8, I'm also using a performer 8. So pretty much the same as performer 7, except I just let it go out for a little longer. So this is just going to be on the pitch. I could have used Performer 7 there as well, but I was playing around with the bypass mod, so I wanted to create one that went on a little longer and would come in every now and then. So, but I ended up not using the bypass mod. And if you don't know what the bypass mod is, I have a video about that, so I'll link that down below as well. Now let's get into our voicing. So we're going to set the 16:4, and we're going to turn on the pitch cutoff. So what I like to do is I like to just bring this up all the way and then set the amount I want it at over here. That way I know exactly where it's at. And I also have a macro there as well, so you can see if I want to detune or not, you know. That's again the reason why I prefer making these kind of percussive things without using samples, because I have all sorts of controls I could apply. And let's go pan position. So we also use the pan position. We start off in mono, and then we add that Performer 7 to kind of open up the sound in terms of stereo imaging. Now let's go to the oscillator tab. So that way you can see that I have no glide here. I could apply a little bit of it, and no oscillator restart via gate. So let's continue on now to the filter. So we're just going to use the low pass 2 to kind of just close the sound all the way down with the cutoff, and then we're going to throw that Performer 7 on there. We're not going to use the reso there, and we're just going to bring this up all the way, and we're going to leave this right in the middle in case we decide to use another additional bandpass, which is again what we're using inside of the WoW filter. So if you don't have the WoW filter, you can just turn this on and just copy these exact settings, and you'll get something kind of close. So obviously the WoW filter sounds a lot cooler, so that's why I just stick with that. But just in case you don't have the WoW filter, you could just use a filter inside of Massive and kind of get away with some of the similar types of characteristics. So now let's go to our inserts. So we're going to use a P-shaper right here and a hard clipper there. So I'm not going to really explain why I use these. You can just go ahead and copy that and just drag those Performer 7s in there. So I do like to modulate my effects with my main modulators, so that way I can kind of get that characteristic to carry over into all aspects of the sound. So especially when you do it with shapers and hard clippers, you kind of shape the beginning and end of the sound differently, so it's not just a constant effect. And let's go to our final FX here. So we're going to use the delay synced, and we're going to set this the left and the right side to 1/8. We're going to bring the dry wet all the way down and throw this macro there as well. So you don't have to throw the macros if you don't want it, but basically where the yellow ends is basically where I have that position, so it's pretty much right there. But you know, according to where I have this will be where it's at there. So if I have it, you know, somewhere in the middle, then I'll probably be like right here in the middle of the yellow line. So I'm just gonna leave that up all the way because I kind of like that delay on these kind of percussive sounds, and then you can see where the dampen feedback is at. And for reverb, we're going to just do the kind of similar thing with the macro. We're just going to pull it all the way down, throw the macro there, and then size, density, and color. You can see where those are at. And then I have a little bit of EQ here, so just bringing down the low shelf a bit, boosted the mid by this frequency a little bit more, and a bit of high shelf. And that's really it. All right, so thanks guys for watching, and of course, Lates.